All right, guys, welcome to Mud Road. Remember to head over to Discord and join that channel. I really want to see you over there, and I really need your help on both Odyssey and YouTube, so follow and subscribe. Today's video, it starts off with a response to commenters. The response to the commenters dovetails into the main story, but many of you might just want to skip it and go straight to the feature story. So to be nice to you, in the title and in the description, I'll put a timestamp. In the description, just click that, and you can skip this first part and go straight to the main story. Otherwise, those of you that want to hear my response to commenters, which I think is pretty good, let's get going. From MAGA Dunk. Dunk is a pro-Ukrainian, has been posted on the channel for a long time. Actually, I like the comments, and sometimes I find that Dunk gives me good content for the show. And I was thinking about my story today with the articles, and this dovetails into that quite well. Nice vid, Mud. Thank you on the video that this is posted on. Just an update on baking, typo, on Bakhmut. That may be interesting. Putin wants it taken by the anniversary invasion, so he is now committing a large amount of forces, including elite troops, to this. Yes, I think that this would be a great propaganda win. There are intelligent propaganda wins and stupid propaganda wins. I think taking Bakhmut by the anniversary of the special military operation would be would be a great propaganda for Putin. And yes, I think I have heard that too. He is committing more troops and elite troops. Yes, thumbs up on that. The Ukrainians are gradually falling back, but inflicting huge casualties on the Russian forces every day and targeting the supply lines that feed them. No, no, and no. There is no gradually falling back. Ukraine is under fire control. Is it fire control? They're surrounded partially, and the rest is surrounded by artillery fire. I forget the term exactly. And there is no backing out. You're backing into a rainstorm of artillery fire. You're backing into death. The Bakhmut and the forces in Bakhmut are basically surrounded. Ukraine will retreat out of the city at some point, but only when the Russians have expended so much in the area that they will need an operational pause. Russia does operational pauses. I remember reading that in World War II, this was part of their standard, their practice. They hit hard, they solidify the positions, they rotate their troops, they resupply. This is normal Russian tactics. I don't think the Russians are going to operational pause while taking Bakhmut. They're just going to go for it. They're not going to give the Ukrainians a chance to strengthen their positions, try to escape, or like Dunk here says, commit an offensive. This, I think, will be when the Ukrainian launches a large counteroffensive in the area. In short, the Russians may be sucker punched. Russians didn't get sucker punched or anything. Ukrainians, this is also Ukrainian tactics that I have seen in this war. After they have been pushed back hard, whether it be Lysychansk or Severodonetsk, or other cities, I forget their names, it has been their practice after being spanked to gather whatever resources they have and attempt to push back. Sometimes they don't push back at all. Sometimes they manage to make a little ground, but they're spent. It's like they knock off whatever's. It's the last bang they got in their wham bam, and after that they're spent, and then the Russian forces just rolled and crushed them every time. So the Ukrainians need to, if they can escape the situation, they need to back up to the next defensive line. Dig in deep and hard. This is a lost cause. Whether they want to take an offensive or they want to sit there and fight, it's dumb. It's just dumb. All right. So sucker punch. It's looking interesting, but I think that Russia has been blinked on Bakhmut. It is now committing and taking it no matter what. I don't think Russia has been blinked. Bakhmut is an important strategic spot. All the talk that it wasn't important, no one's arguing that anymore. I've shown in previous videos where it's important. It's important to both sides. It always has been important to both sides. Bakhmut needs to fall to break that second Ukrainian line. And the second part, and is now committed in taking it no matter what the cost. Well, there is no matter what the cost. Russia's going to take it. They are not going to spend more resources. There is no matter what cost. You know, it's me knocking this water bottle over. Well, you can say, yeah, you're going to knock it over now at no matter what cost. It's that easy. It doesn't get to the point of no matter what cost. You said so yourself. The Russians are bringing in elite troops. They're increasing their resources. They're going to lay the big kaboom on the Ukrainians in Bakhmut. There is no matter what cost. That doesn't even calculate into the equation. Well, welcome to the second part of the video. Let's just jump into the main story. Ukraine has already lost the war. They have been thoroughly biatch slapped, and I'm going to tell you why and who is reporting it. The Hill is a big-time pro-Ukrainian propaganda rag. They outright hate the Russians. Now, I don't think they're that dumb to report what they do. So I truly have to believe they are actively trying to brainwash people. And unfortunately, a lot of people believe it, and thus they are pro-Ukrainian. The war is not yet over, but Ukraine has already lost. I highlighted some key points. The war is not yet over, but the outcome is already clear. Ukraine has lost. Bas. Oh, I'm sad about that. It pains me to say, of course, Ukraine has fought a just war against an unjust, even barbaric aggressor. That's propaganda. I've explained to you already what the real reasons for the war, about globalism, unipolar, multipolar world, about the RAND report, about the intentions of the West. All right. Even pushing the Russians back on several fronts. Oh my Lord. I've talked about Kharkiv and I've talked about Kherson. Those were not Ukrainian victories, and they did not push the Russians. The Russians fell back to defendable positions wisely, like Ukraine should be doing right now in Bakhmut. Instead of sacrificing thousands of troops, they should be falling back to defendable positions and save their resources and troops. They're not. For the paper. I have been telling you over and over and over how it is. And eventually the media comes around and they agree with me. Ukraine has already lost. I have been saying that for months. They lost the day the war started. It's just a really long cleanup effort that's going on. And the Russians want it. They want to denazify Ukraine, which means they want to eliminate its military. Bakhmut has given them a perfect chance to just keep on grinding. Zelensky keeps feeding the meat grinder that the troops in Bakhmut, the Russian troops and Wagner, they're meat grinding the Ukrainian troops. That Russia will end up imposing its will on Ukraine now seems beyond a reasonable doubt. Finally, little by little, this is going to happen more. I told you all this. Other channels have told you all this. They were doomed from the get-go. They were never destined to win. As soon as, well, I'm not going to say who instigated the war, but you know what I believe. Further down, be sure this does not mean that the fighting will stop tomorrow. No, and I don't think the Russians wanted the fighting to end tomorrow. They still have a lot of cleaning up, disinfecting, I guess you could say, allegedly, of Ukraine, of certain elements that they don't want there. But one thing is crystal clear. Crystal clear. While the war is not over yet, Ukraine has lost. Lost. They're not going, Magadunk, they are not going to win. There's no hope for them. You keep bringing up ideas. It's not going to happen. Let me show you some more stuff. These are all pro-Ukrainian Western sources. Daily Mail. Artillery regiments run out of artillery. The West is running out of artillery to send Ukraine. Ukraine just doesn't have it. They don't have it because they can't get it from anywhere else. They don't have it because it's running out. Even the West doesn't have it. Even the West, if we were to fight Russia, it is appearing allegedly that we would get our behinds kicked. Oh, there's that little girl, what's his name, sleeping, whatever. Well, why are you telling me that we're running out of weapons? Everybody knows we're running out of weapons. I report stuff. I read it. I report it. All right? Get your panties all straight. Actually, 14-year-old girls should not be watching my channel. So sleeping, whatever you were, go away. Now, what we have here in the gray hair, I believe this is Colonel Douglas McGregor, retired U.S. military. Remember, I may be incorrect on that name. And I believe that the other gentleman is Judge Napolitano. Again, alleged on their names so I don't get in trouble with the YouTube. Listen to what they have to say, or what he has to say.
Ukraine's on the verge of collapse. We're going to watch that happen over the next several weeks. The Russians will crush out of existence what remains of the Ukrainian armed forces, and I think they'll have to go after this regime, assuming Zelensky and his friends don't rapidly flee the country to Poland or somewhere else. Now, having said that, the Russians are being very methodical, very deliberate. They are moving constantly, but they are not moving on multiple axes simultaneously. In other words, you're not going to see the blitzkrieg. What you're going to see on several axes are what I would call large meat grinders. They're just systematically plowing forward, annihilating everything that they come in touch with that is Ukrainian, until Ukrainians are finished. There is no incentive for them at this point to negotiate with us unless we go in without conditions. Would the Russians prefer not to annihilate everything in Ukraine? Yes. They never went in there with that goal to begin with. But you can't walk in there and say, well, the only way we'll talk to you is if you withdraw all your forces from Ukraine and Crimea. That's absurd.
Okay, guys. On the McGregor side, it seemed to be some cuts in it. So remember, this may be out of context. So let's throw a ledge on this whole video again. Again, I got to make the YouTube happy. Ukraine, according to this video, according to the Hill article, they've lost the war already. And if you're trying to say, well, the West and the United States, we're going to throw down with them. The West can't do it. Ukraine can't do it. Britain can't do it. And I'm telling you, the U.S. can't do it. And if it's true, if it is true that we are going to fight China by 2025, if that is like something that may be in their minds, then we need to bring an end to the conflict in Ukraine. And so Ukraine has that against them. They're not winning. They're not going to win. A lot of people are now beginning to say what I have been telling you before. And the Western nations are just poop. They're just out of everything. And this is where we decipher the casualty lie. You have to use common sense, right? Pro-Ukrainians, common sense. Pro-Ukrainians do not accept that the Ukrainians have lost 100,000 troops. So I'm going to go off, for my estimate, I am going to say the Ukrainians have lost 100,000 troops. And that the Russians have lost 200,000 troops. You're thinking, oh, Ukraine's kicking the ass. But it's a lie. And how do I know it's a lie? Because they are already reported in the Western media. I have heard that the Russians outgunned the Ukrainians 6-1, artillery, tank, everything. They out-kaboom Ukraine 6-1. I've heard in other reports that the Russians out-kaboom Ukraine 10-1. But I believe I have a Washington Post story that claims that the reports are from the front lines 5-1. All reports, remember, Ukraine is running out of artillery. The West have nothing to send them. Even the little sissy girl, he's all mad that I'm telling you the obvious, and I already showed you. Ukraine basically is artillery deficient. So the best I can do for Ukraine is to say that Russia outguns them 5-1. So this is why the numbers don't make sense. Ukraine is outgunned 5-1, and yet with that one artillery piece to 5, they killed 200,000, killed or wounded 200,000 Russians. The Russians, outgunning the Ukrainians 5-1, have only killed 100,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, so it ledge there on my math. That means every time Ukraine fires one shell, it is 100% accurate times 5. So every time Ukraine fires one shell, it hits 5 targets, one shell, in 5 different locations. Every Ukrainian shell has a 500% accuracy rate. It's not possible. And on the Russian part, they out-kaboom Ukraine 5-1, minimum, right? They out-kaboom Ukraine, minimum, allegedly, 5-1. And they've only eliminated about 100,000 Ukrainians, supposedly, right? That means the Russians have a 5% accuracy rate. Do you believe that? Do you believe that the Russian guns, the tanks, the artilleries, the planes, the drones, has a 5% accuracy? That they're like stormtroopers. They can't hit anything. And the Ukrainians, they can hit everything 5 times in 5 different locations. The numbers are wrong. Common sense. This is where if you're a YouTube moderator, you know, I have to throw a ledge on this because people cannot use their own common sense. The Ukrainian math and the Western math, even the United States Pentagon math, doesn't calculate. You know what does calculate? Oh God, and I'm using 100,000 dead Ukrainians. Now, what if I use Zelensky numbers of 10 to 13,000? That means that the Russians would have, oh my God, like 1%? Like if the Russians fired 100 of everything, 100 bullets, 100 shells, right? Only one would hit? It is ridiculous. Pro-Ukrainians, you are not killing heavy casualties of Russians. It is not happening. And there is no human waves. That is not the way the Russians fight. I have told you before, they soften up the position before they take it out. They suffer low casualty rates. Right? I've been reporting this. I think it was 2 videos ago. I showed you a guy speaking about this. The numbers just don't add up. The numbers that do add up are Russian numbers. Russia claims that they have lost, I read a report, alleged again, that they have lost about 30,000 troops. That may be dead and then wounded more. And the Ukraine, the report I read that allegedly Ukraine has lost like now moving on 150,000 dead. That's just dead. That's not counting how many more wounded. Those numbers make more sense in an artillery duel that is a minimum of 5 to 1. In a tank duel, Ukraine's out of tanks. And remember, Russia has, they still got like 12,000 tanks. Over 10,000 tanks, alleged for the YouTube. I think I beat a dead horse on this. We know that the casualty numbers for Russia are wrong. Ukraine is suffering big losses. Russia isn't. Ukraine has no equipment. Russia has plenty. The war is already lost. It is just a big clean-up operation. The United States, they either need to double down with what? I have no idea. Or they need to start backing out of this. And I think that is what is going to happen. So again, thank you for watching the video today. Remember to subscribe and follow the channel. I really need that help. The shadow ban YouTube put on me is just horrendous. I bought an ad, meaning I was paying $1. It's not a lot, but it gives me a lot of clicks. I bought an ad for 2 days. I think it ran me $4. Did I pay $1 or $2 per day? Like $4. I looked at it. They're not even showing my ad. I am so shadow banned. Even if I pay for an ad, YouTube doesn't show it to anybody. At least that's what it's telling me. Maybe the system's behind. I don't know. But it's not looking good. So I really need you to thumbs up, subscribe, share. You got to join the channel. Join the Discord in case I ever get booted off of all the platforms. And follow and subscribe on these two. Really, I just, I need you guys, all right? If you've been watching the videos and you haven't subscribed yet or followed, I hope today's the day you do that. So y'all have a good day.